Hey, so why did the Invisible Man turn down the job offer? He couldn't see himself doing it. Just like me on stream just now.
Nice. Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, everyone. Today, we are talking about how you can start your very own podcast. It's Friday, April 10th, 2020. Welcome to episode 8 of the Ginger and the Beard podcast. Like those drumsticks?
Dude, that was awesome. Bringing
I've been
in
thinking about
props.
doing that for the last 4 episodes and I just keep forgetting to do it.
Oh, dude, I didn't even know you had drumsticks. That's great.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm a drummer. We should talk about that one day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. What's up, everyone? I am AJ, aka The Ginger.
And I'm Reese, aka the Beard.
And in this week's episode, we're going to drop a little bit of knowledge about what we've learned along the way when creating this podcast and give you some tips and advice on how you can start your very own podcast.
We're also going to spend a good amount of time talking about big news surrounding UFC 249, as well as some tech news and more.
Oh, UFC 249. I'm so excited to talk about this,
Oh, my
but also
gosh.
So depressed
Yeah.
about the news.
Oh, gosh. I mean, we'll get into it. But
Yeah. Just
anyway,
deep sigh.
gosh. How was your week, bud?
It was good, man. It was good. You know, we had a ton of beautiful weather, so can't really complain about that. We're on day like 16 of working from home, you know. I'm getting kind of used to it, but I feel like there's like this pattern. I think I read some articles about this where it's like when you transition to working from home, your productivity at first just takes a dive, which is absolutely true. And then like you start getting used to it and it starts to climb back up a little bit. And then it starts to take another dive once you like, I don't know, you kind of just like get into this little funk, I guess. And I feel like that's where I'm kind of at right now.
I can see it.
It's just kind of this up and down wave pattern. You know, there's some good days, some bad days, but overall, still don't have coronavirus, still healthy. And
Yeah.
you know what? We ordered our first takeout food during this pandemic yesterday.
Okay.
And I'm
What'd you
pretty
guys
psyched
get?
about that. We got a delicious, greasy pizza from Pembroke Pizza up the street. Shout out Pembroke Pizza.
Yeah.
So
Pembroke.
good.
Nice.
And cheesy bread.
Can't go without cheesy bread.
My mouth's watering just thinking about it, just reflecting back.
Jeez, dude.
But I will say, after about 3 weeks of not eating takeout food and then eating a nice greasy pizza, my stomach, dude, my stomach for the
Was it
past
tore
few
up?
days, it's just been like not liking me.
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh,
We ordered
man.
Chick-fil-A last weekend. Chick-fil-A
delicious.
does, they do delivery through like DoorDash and like Grubhub and all that stuff. So, they hooked it up. I was happy. We haven't.
Did you get some nugs.
Stephanie got some nugs. Muggle for life. She got some nugs.
Yes.
I got a good old classic sandwich, man. It's my favorite. It's my jam.
Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with
No.
the classic.
Oh, of course not, dude. That's how they started. That's what it's all about.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
How about you? How was your week?
It was good. Busy beginning of the month and whatnot. Been playing a lot of this game called Lost Oasis. The stream's been doing pretty good. So that's been awesome. Been happy about that. I bought a new piece of technology, which I can't wait to share during our tech section.
I'm pretty excited.
But it's just been status quo. We've just been staying inside the house, we've been placing orders for delivery groceries, and
Yes.
so we've been getting a bunch of groceries, but it's weird because like they'll tell you that they're gonna deliver it one day, and then like it'll be that day, and then they push it back another day, or they'll just push it back like 6 hours, and it's like I just feel like their systems weren't built out for the level of for like the
Demand.
quantity, the level of demand. That's a good way to put it. Level of demand that they're
Right.
getting right now. But yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, literally everyone is doing that. We do that. I think we've only gotten groceries. Well, I think we got them delivered maybe twice since this whole thing happened. But other than that, it's been pickup And we've been doing grocery pickup for like a long time, so there's nothing really new about it here except for you have to go open your own trunk, so they
Yeah.
don't want to touch your car.
Now, is
Um,
the pickup service that you're using, is it specific to a grocery store that you go to, or is it like a third party type of thing?
it's yeah, we go through Kroger, so they have something called like Click List,
Okay,
and
got
so
it.
Shayna she puts together like the order throughout the week on their app or whatever, and we go and pick it up on the weekends. So
What a
just
good idea though, right?
oh man, dude, if there's one thing in this world that I despise, it is grocery shopping.
You
I
would
would
think
rather
that.
do I'd rather like lose my pinky toe for the rest of my life than have to go grocery shopping again.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate it
Imagine
so
that.
much.
What if a company actually came up with like an only pickup, grocery store where it's like you can't browse. You browse online, and you have
Yeah.
to have a set time where you come pick up your. Would do you think people would like that? Would that? Is there a market for that? You think?
I mean, after all this is said and done, I think there will be. I mean, things are going to change so much in this next, and in Virginia, at least June 10th is like the date that we're shooting for to like start to get back to normal life. So by that time, everyone has experienced what grocery delivery is like and what grocery pickup is like and what it means to like, go do curbside pickup for all your meals and work from home every single day all
Yeah.
week.
How do
So
we
I think
go?
a lot of stuff's going to change, dude.
How do we go back from here? Right? How does it? I mean, we've
That's
already
a
got
great
a
question.
taste of the remote work style. We
It's
don't
going
have
to
to
be
leave our
interesting, man.
houses.
It's gonna be weird. Me and Shayna were talking about this like all week. Like, man, when we have to go back to like the regular way of doing this, like I'm gonna miss number one being at home with my family all day. Number two, I'm like so
Right.
used to sitting at my desk here and getting stuff done. Like having to go back into like an office with like noise and like people around and like bright overhead lights. I'm gonna be like, this is terrible. Let's go back to the way things were.
Yeah. I feel like we all should have a strong going off of, your point about productivity, right? The initial
Yeah.
decrease and then the increase, right? I talked to one of my coworkers, and their significant other works for a large corporation, and that corporation specifically saw a huge increase in productivity, and
Really?
they're extending the remote work to like September for the
Wow.
whole
Really?
company. Yeah, I'm not going to say the company name, but you all know. If I said it, everyone on this, would know who they are. And it's crazy that you know people can work from home and be productive. And why wouldn't they? When a company can have all of their employees working from home, that means that they don't have to cover as many expenses. They don't have to pay for electricity. They don't have to pay for rent. Why wouldn't they,
Yep.
right?
How much money do they save on those coffee packs in the break room?
Just saying, man, it all adds up. 50 years of coffee packs? Talking
Yeah.
about pension
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, the hard thing is obviously the revenue streams into these businesses right now is taking a hit too, which has obviously implications. But so
Yeah.
let's stay with this. Let's get back to the customers we serve. Also, businesses being open, and then let's get back to the way money used to be, and then let's let everyone stay at home.
Yes, I agree. And invest in virtual reality because it's going to take off. It's got to.
Yeah, virtual reality, virtual team, work environments,
Oh, yeah.
Slack,
Yep.
Discord.
Zoom.
You
I
know,
keep seeing
all that good
Zoom in the
stuff.
news right
Zoom.
now. People
Oh
on
man,
their meetings wearing bathrobes.
have you? Please tell me you've seen the clip of the lady. There's like it's like a Zoom conference call, and there's probably like 10 or 12 people on this call, and this poor girl, I don't know, she decides to get up from her desk and carry her laptop through her house, and she ends up in the bathroom and forgets to turn her camera off. We were just talking about this before the show, how you can turn your camera off and go fill up your coffee or something now that you work at home. And she lays the laptop in the floor with the camera still on and proceeds
Oh.
to do a number two. Uh,
Oh.
until she looks down at her computer, and I guess she realizes people are like making this kind of face, like,
Oh.
and she
They
freaks out and shuts it really fast.
Oh no.
So,
They should have just. Oh no.
and then there's like literally one guy on the call, and he goes, "I didn't see anything." I was like, oh, that
no.
poor girl.
Show me your
She can never,
bush.
she can never return to work ever. She can never go back to work.
How? Yeah,
I
don't you just
mean,
quit? You pretty much just quit after that, right? Because
you
like
have to quit.
all of your employees have seen your business. Like that's not good.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that should be like an HR thing where I don't know.
Yeah,
You get
fortunately, I don't think you could actually see anything, to her benefit, I guess. But
Okay, that's
still, the
good.
fact that you could see her drop trowel and sit on the John, I was just like, oh no.
But isn't that akin to like public indecency, right? Like I almost
mean,
I don't know. We're towing
right.
we're on the border here, but I feel like you could. That's definitely a punishable offense, but.
One can make an argument.
I think so. But anyway, you know what, man? We went on a tangent just now like we usually do. What are you drinking?
Oh, I haven't cracked her open yet, but I've got myself. This is an unusual choice for an evening inside beer, but it's what I got. It's an Orange Crush IPA from Farmhouse. Again, I got another beer here from Farmhouse Brewing. Last week I talked about a couple different ones that we had. If you love citrusy IPAs, obviously this is going to be a good go-to.
Oh my God.
This one, the Orange Crush, okay, I'd have never heard about an Orange Crush until I moved to Virginia Beach, and there's a spot locally called Waterman's, and I think they're supposed to be credited as like the originator of the Orange Crush, and they host a Orange Crush festival every year. But most every restaurant around here will make you an Orange Crush, but it's essentially just like a citrusy cocktail or whatever. With oranges.
Okay.
So, anyways, this is an Orange Crush IPA, so I'll go ahead and give this a little pour. Whenever this glass is in front of this light, it always looks so dirty, and I'm like, this is definitely a clean glass.
It looks clean on my end, but it looks
good.
It looks so refreshing.
It smells,
Honestly.
dude. The smell, I can just from here to smell the orange. It's
Oh, I kind of wish I could just trade you right now.
Because
through
the camera.
Yeah, that looks like hydrating and refreshing and
It is
what
very
you should be
refreshing.
drinking in springtime, right?
Yeah, like this is perfect for those 75, 80 degree days that we've been having. So I think actually Sunday is supposed to be 75.
Did you
So I
guys
can't
get a
wait
cold
to-
front?
Today we did. Yeah, it was like in the 50s today,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
which was kind of weird. But
That's why I got this
Um,
like heavy shirt on right now. I was freezing.
yeah, I had to put a sweatshirt on earlier today. I was super cold in the house.
Gosh.
But yeah, that's what I'm drinking, man. What about yourself? What are you having tonight, sir?
So this is a weird one. I never thought I would have, drank something like this, but it's just because it's Guinness, right? So this is a Guinness barrel aged stock ale.
Oh,
I never knew that Guinness did something like this.
very nice.
Yeah, so aged in bullet bourbon. Bullet bourbon's a mid-level bourbon that I like drinking. Also, it's 10%, 89 on Beer Advocate, right? So this is a stout aged in bourbon barrels for several months, and it's supposed to be kind of like a barley wine style, with a lot of hops. So
Interesting.
let's go ahead and do this pour. I don't know what I'm getting myself into right now. Oh,
I tell you what, man, you're always coming through with the heavy beers. Last week was 11%. This week's 10%.
yeah, man. I gotta if it doesn't look and taste like oil, then I can't drink it. So
That's
all
a
right.
dark one.
No head on this one. Really?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's weird seeing you pour a Guinness and there's no head.
Yeah, because usually
But I
Guinness
guess,
they nitro cans, right? This one's just
Right.
carbonated, I guess. So it smells good. Smells kind of sweet actually. Hey, they did a good
Give
job.
it a taste. How is
Wow. You know what? They did a good job. Definitely tastes like a barley wine with a little bit of hops on the front end. Just a tiny bit of bitterness. But yeah, it's like a creamy, caramelly, sweet kind of a little toasted,
it?
Really.
Sounds
man.
good for a 50-degree day.
Yeah, I think I could probably drink this again. Yeah, we're going to go with that.
Nice. So how did you acquire that? Did you go somewhere and pick that up, or did you get that on delivery?
Oh, so this one was like hiding in the back of my fridge. Remember I told you I bought like all those beers for like Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is the last one.
That's the best surprise ever. That's like finding a $20 bill in your pocket. You find a
Yeah.
beer in the back of your fridge, like, oh yes,
Yeah, pretty
so
happy about
good.
that. And it's even better cuz it tastes good. So,
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
Oh
I
man,
love
that's
that feeling. You think you're out of beer, and then you find that one last one hiding behind all those bottles of water in the fridge, and there's just a little just a little cat poking out, and you're like, oh, what's this?
it's
What's
like
this little guy?
finding that like $5 bill that you lost like 10 years ago, in a
Yeah.
pair of shorts that you haven't worn.
And the
Oh
beer's
yeah.
like, oh no, he found me. Oh no.
No, don't drink me. I've been aging for you for 10 years.
Yeah. You know that beer I showed last week on the stream from Farmhouse's 757 beer? That's like exclusive because they had to release it because something in the water festival got canceled. I was like, I think I might save a can of this, just because it's exclusive. And then that was like the last beer I had, and I was like, I'm not gonna save this.
Oh, no. I mean, it's
Like,
for
I'm not gonna
enjoying,
save
right?
this. I saved the label though.
Okay.
So Shayna actually had a brilliant idea, but beneath this couch here, in this background here,
Right.
is like a couple of desktops that we're not using anymore, like old desktops. So I'm starting to peeling the stickers off of the cans, the labels off the cans, and like plastering them across these desktops. And the idea is that eventually they'll be completely covered in this collage of labels, and I could use it as like a backdrop for the podcast.
Oh, dude. That is awesome.
Right? So this one here looks like I could peel this bad boy off of there too. So after I've consumed it, I will peel this. And I've got 5 more of those in the fridge. So that'll give me some surface area coverage.
I didn't even know that those labels were peelable. That's
Yeah,
news
some
to
of
me.
them are. Some of them are, but some cans have like the screen print or I don't know, I guess just higher quality labels or something. I don't know anything about quality of labels, but yeah.
Petition for lower quality labels. Start now.
I guess if you pay for like screen printing where there's like no actual piece of paper on the can, that's probably costly.
Yeah, it makes sense,
Yeah.
but it won't contribute. So shame on them for using higher quality printing skills.
Yes.
Dude, I can't
So
wait to see that.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna take a while to cover, but I mean, if I keep buying 6-packs, then I always usually, whenever I go to Wegmans or whatever, I build a 6-pack. So that's 6 different labels that I could hopefully peel off and plaster on there. So it might come together relatively quick. We'll see.
Dude, I'm gonna have to
So-
just. You have about a beer every day, right?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
Today, this is my second one today. I had a happy hour with some of the folks, a virtual happy hour with some of my folks at work today. So I had a different IPA from Farmhouse, the Morning Haze that I showed last week, which is also very, very good. So
Nice.
this is number 2 for the day.
We're doing my company's doing a virtual, well, just like the middle management and my boss is all doing a virtual happy hour next week. I'm kind of nervous about it, but I'm gonna be drinking some bourbon on stream, or not on
Very
stream, but
nice.
on the call.
You should stream your work call to Twitch.
I feel like that's not a good idea.
That's good. That's grounds for firing.
Yeah. What are we talking about today? More.
You
Never
should-
mind.
You should stream it to Twitch, and then you should walk to the bathroom and drop a deuce on
I
stream.
was gonna get into the shower actually. Step it up a notch,
Yeah.
Take a deuce and then get into the shower right after.
Oh yeah.
Oh no. Oh gosh. Anyway,
Oh,
so
man.
are you gonna lacquer it, or is it just gonna be just the stickers, or are you gonna do like some kind of finish on the top?
I don't know. I probably will leave it just because if this light I have here and this light I have in the background here, if it's lacquered, it might be too reflective.
Yeah.
So I might need to just leave the matte stickers on there. We'll see if it works out. I have to find some way to rig it up so it actually stays upright behind me. But it'll be cool
Yeah.
if I could do that.
Oh, dude,
We'll see.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
That's exciting.
it's gonna be cool. Well, I think we should move on. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess we've been talking for like 20 minutes about our day.
It's okay.
So
It's all good. This is
Yeah,
why
let's go
this
ahead.
this is the whole point of getting together. It's good to catch up. Before we
Yeah.
do, let's hold our beers up and let's ask the people what they're drinking.
yeah, guys, what are you drinking today?
All right.
I'm gonna.
Guys out there, we want to know, what are you drinking tonight? Leave us a comment below. Let us know. Tag us. We want to see what you guys are up to. Leave us some reviews and some recommendations. We're always looking to try new stuff. So let us know.
Yes. And try some of these out if you can get a hold of them.
Yes.
They won't let you
can
down.
Find this bad boy. I don't know if they distribute this guy very far. It might just be regionally, but try it out.
Yeah, I mean, expand your horizons, right? I mean,
That's right.
we all learn by taking a leap and doing something different. So, right?
There you go.
Cool.
All right, let's hit a transition, Reese.
All right, we're gonna do it right now. Hey, that was a quick transition. Oh, still playing the drums.
Oh
Still
wait, this
playing
is
the
not a rock and roll song. This is actually, these sticks are actually not appropriate for drum for a drum set. These are actually marching snare sticks.
Oh.
I played snare in the drum line when I was in high school.
Look at you spinning them,
And-
dude. You look like a professional.
Oh yeah, check this out.
Oh my god. Whoa.
Yeah, maybe I'll play a little on my practice drum pad one day, just for some horrible entertainment.
Do you have an actual like electronic drum pad? I didn't know that.
No, it's in a different room, or else I'd bring it up. But it's a rubberized, like it's like this thick and probably like 12 inches in diameter, I think.
Okay.
But it's like a rubberized pad, so it's kind of quiet if you want to practice on. And if you flip it over, the reverse side is a little harder and it's louder, and it's supposed to feel more like a real drum head, like a snare drum head.
Okay.
So back when I was in high school, my parents got me that to practice on. And yeah, those the glory days back when I had some sort of talent.
So do you know a couple songs?
I mean, you can't really play a song by yourself on a snare drum. I guess maybe you could, but yeah, I was part of like the drum line. So, but yeah, I can play a drum set too. I used to have a drum set as well, but it's been a long time since I've sat in front of one of those or behind one of those.
Nice, dude. Yeah, that's cool.
But one day I will have a garage, and I've been saying this to Shayna for a while now. I'm like, we should buy Kai a drum set. You know,
boom.
He's 4. You know, we should buy him an adult-sized drum set of medium to high quality, and we should let him learn, and he'll grow into it, right? So,
I like your strategy, sir.
And I also can play on it.
And then you could buy him a guitar and get Case a bass, and you'll be good to go.
And Shayna can sing. She sings very well. She could definitely have a family band.
Oh, dude. I love it. We'll
see how she feels about
that. Good luck, man.
Oh, man. All right. So our main topic of the week is how to start a podcast. We obviously are on episode 8 of this podcast, which is pretty good. I don't know what the statistics are on like podcasts that get started. How far do the majority of podcasts make it before they just give up or lose their consistency? We've done this consistently every single week for 8 weeks, right? Have we missed any weeks? Maybe we've missed 1 week.
I think we might have missed 1 week. But yeah, I mean, maybe not. I think maybe we just like rescheduled one of them. I don't think we might have missed one, and we just basically took that week to like
that's right
tweak some things, so it's still be consistent in the fact that we've been working on it for 8, 9, 10 weeks maybe, because we also prepped for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, maybe even longer. Actually, might have been like 2 or 3 weeks. I can't remember, but I think we got this spun up pretty fast, relatively fast, you know. So we're gonna get into that a little bit. We're gonna tell you guys what our experience has been starting this podcast. Since we're 8 episodes deep at this point, we're basically experts at this point. Come on, I mean, realistically, we know what we're doing.
Yeah, I think we qualify, right? We're doing it. I think
so.
It's happening.
We have some advice to give. You can learn something from us. Maybe it'd be one thing.
We can get you set up. We can get everything set up and working, and it's gonna look like this or better.
Yeah, and I think we have like kind of a unique setup. Like the podcasts that I followed, not many of them do it virtually. Although now during this whole pandemic, they actually are a lot of them are doing it virtually. So
makes sense.
We've got an interesting setup here. So I'm kind of excited to dive into it. So we essentially broke this out into a series of steps that you guys could follow, relatively loosely to get yourself up and recording your first episode. So if we want to just dive right in, the first step, number one on how to start your own podcast is to decide on a genre/topic. So what do you want to
Yeah.
talk about? There's a lot of arguments out there that you should find a niche topic. You should find something that there aren't a lot of other podcasts about, because you don't want to be in a saturated, saturated market when it comes to different topics. But look at us. I mean, we're not wildly successful by any means with the podcast so far, but we're not talking about niche topics. We're talking about technology, video games, UFC. And the reason we chose to go that route was because those are things that we're passionate about and we can elaborate on naturally and don't have to, do tons of research before each episode to kind of make it sound like we know what we're talking about. So I think
Right.
my biggest tip here, and you can tell me what you think, Reese, too, is just find something that you're passionate about and that you can talk naturally about, without having to script everything out.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I think a lot of other people would too. It's like, do what you're passionate about. Don't do something because you think it's going to make you successful. Do what you're happy about. Other people are going to see your enjoyment. They're going to see your enthusiasm about the topic, and they're going to want to watch you do what you like doing.
Yeah, I mean, when me and Reese get to talking about UFC, we kind of get on we get on a tangent and things get out of hand because we just are super passionate about the UFC and we love
Yep.
talking about it. So that's the whole reason
Yeah.
we started the podcast to begin with.
There's all kinds of things you could do, gaming, UFC, football, cooking, dressing yourself, whatever you want to do.
I think the most niche podcast I've found so far, just as like being on Instagram and trying to network with other podcasters out there, there's one, I wish I could remember the name of it now. I think it's like GHP podcast or something like that. I'll have to look it up so we can give them some actual credit. And it's about reptiles, basically.
Really?
From what I can tell, they talk about like different types of reptiles.
Okay.
So, that's super. I'm like, how do you, to me, because I'm not passionate about reptiles, I'm like, how do you build a podcast about just reptiles? But I guess these folks are, I haven't really looked super in depth about them, but they must have some qualifications to talk about these animals and know that there's an audience out there for them. So that's super cool.
I mean, if you can be enthusiastic and really enjoy and have a lot of passion about something that's niche, then I mean you're positioning yourself in a good way to get started. Because if you're doing gaming or movies, like or even music, those ones are all pretty well blown out at this point. The market, the barrier to entry for success there is significant.
Yeah.
But still, if you're going to be talking about something that you don't enjoy, you're going to get burnt out. It's got to be something you're passionate about.
People will pick up on it and they won't want to listen.
Yep, exactly.
So step number 2, moving on, you got to decide, once you've picked your topic, step number 1, you got to figure out, are you going to do it by yourself or are you going to find a partner or a group to do it with? So there are definitely arguments for both. I think one of the most popular, maybe not one of the most popular, but a popular podcast is Bill Burr. He had a podcast where he's got tons of episodes and it's literally just him. I think it's a Monday. It's like Bill Burr's Monday something show, but it's literally just him talking for an hour or more. And personally, I don't typically like listening to I like listening to the back and forth conversation between at least two people.
Right.
And for us, obviously, you and I, it wouldn't be the ginger and the beard if it was just the ginger or just the beard.
Yeah, right.
It's just easier to talk to somebody, one-on-one or even in a group setting to foster that sort of communication and conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, just using Bill Burr as like an example, right? Like he's paid to talk, right? That's his whole thing. And like he's a comedian and he's paid to be on the center stage talking and people are listening to him talk. So it's like that makes sense, right? But if you go and Joe Rogan's the one that I listen to a bunch, and it's like, he has a back and forth, but he has guests on all the time. So it's, and his is more of like a variety kind of podcast where it's all over the place. And last thing is, if it's going to be more than one person, then you also have to decide on, is it a group or is it a partner? And, but personally, I don't like when it's group. I just feel like it's too much. I think that, the kind of one-on-one conversations are much more beneficial to the listener. When you get into the group setting, it's almost like you kind of get to see like the hierarchy of the conversation,
Mm,
and some people might, take the lead, and then, you only really get their point of view, and you don't get to hear the back and forth. When it's just two people, you really get to see both sides of the
right.
conversation. Now, I'm not saying that
Yeah,
that's,
that's a good point.
it's not going to be like that every time, but the chances of it, being like that are higher when there's more people. So,
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, even on Joe Rogan's podcast, that's using that as an example. Like so the times where he's interviewing more than one person at a time, geez, I can't talk. You've either got um, two people who participate equally on the other side of the table from him, or you've got one person that's predominantly participating, and then you've got the other guy who just jumps in once in a while and kind of can derail the conversation. I remember one episode in particular. I can't remember the guy's name that he was interviewing, but it was a guy that was basically claiming that my wife is gonna cringe when I start talking about this. He was talking about how aliens exist and how Area 51 is a real thing and they have flying saucers and all this stuff. Like he saw it with his own two eyes. He used to apparently work there. There's a Netflix documentary about him, and this guy who was there with him was the producer of the Netflix documentary.
yep.
His name was Jeremy something, but um, Joe and this guy who actually experienced this stuff would get into this like super deep conversation, and then Jeremy would pitch in once in a while and be like, "Oh, and tell him about that time where you did this," and Joe had to like shut him down on occasion and be like, "Dude,
Yeah.
just let him tell his side of the story. Like
Yep.
I don't need you to keep it." Like he had to get kind of not aggressive but firm with him,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of shut it down. So that's kind of a different sort of scenario, but I kind of agree with what you're saying, especially if you're doing the podcast virtually like we do it, where we're in two different locations. And there's always like the slight bit of lag between when you say something and I say something, and it's easy to kind of step on each other's toes if you just got to find that right rhythm. So if you have a group of like 5 people, it's even harder to not step on each other or to interject at the wrong time.
Yeah, man. Great example. And I remember
Yeah.
that podcast, and yeah, that's
What was
exactly
that
what I'm
guy's name?
talking
He was
about.
like Bill. It was like Bill or something. I wish I could remember that guy's name. I have to look it
I
up and leave a
I just
leave a
remember
link in
he
the
had
show
like
notes.
a headache the whole episode, and like every
Yeah.
time Joe would ask him a question, if he didn't have an answer for it, he would just be like, "Oh man, I have such a bad headache." So, I mean, and I'm just skeptical because of like his excuse for not being able to answer was the headache, and then the fact that the producer was there. The producer was like biased because he's gonna back up that guy 100% of the way because he has an interest in it.
Right. Right. Okay, so I found it. It's the guy's name is Bob Lazar,
That's it.
and the other guy's name is Jeremy Corbell.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try to find the name of the okay, the name of the documentary on Netflix. If you guys want to check it out, is Bob Lazar, Area 51, and Flying Saucers. I do recommend you check it out because it does make you think about this stuff, and I think about this stuff anyways. So I thought it was very fascinating, and it's kind of we're not gonna get on this tangent right now. I couldn't decide which way I believed because I could see kind of both sides. Um, but regardless,
Wow, that is a heavy topic to bring up and
I
just
know.
say we're not going to talk about this.
No, let's do it. Save it. Maybe next episode we can talk about do aliens exist?
Oh, dude, hey, I'm down to go down. I'm down for that route. I'm into the
Let's.
esoteric stuff.
Oh, we can make an episode about it.
Oh yeah.
But the virtual topic about stepping on each other's toes, like if you're in a streaming sort of environment, actually dovetails nicely into step number 3, which is to pick a format. So after you've got your topic, after you've figured out, are you going to do it by yourself? Are you going to have a partner? Are you going to have a group of people? You got to decide, how are we going to do this thing? Is it going to be audio only? Is it just going to go to like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, something that people can listen to in their cars or while they're at work or whatever? Or is it going to be audio plus video, which is obviously what we're doing? And you got to weigh the pros and cons of both of those. We can go a little bit into that if you want, but I would just start by saying, if you decide to go the video plus audio route, there's a lot more complications involved. There's a lot more gear not a lot, but there's more gear you would need, such as a camera. You're going to need some video editing software. You're going to figure out how you're going to record this.
Right.
And then for you and I, if you and your partners are not in the same space, how do you handle the stream?
Yep. That was actually I think our largest barrier to entry here was how are we going to capture the video so that we're as close to like in sync as we could be. And we went down a bunch of different paths and then settled on Discord. And
Yeah.
this might not be like the best one, but neither of us are, you know, I mean, we're tech savvy, but we're not experts, right? So it's
Yeah.
like we figured it out. We were able to get it to work. Maybe it's not the best solution, but it's working, right?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we are tech savvy, but neither of us had ever done this before. We did have the benefit of the fact that you had just started streaming video games, probably not even a month before we started this podcast, maybe a little bit, maybe a month. And
Yeah,
so
it
you
was like
had
a month.
a little bit of knowledge about how to stream your video to Twitch, which obviously we do our live shows on Twitch. So that kind of helped us out, and you knew how to set up like the transitions and the different scenes and things like that. The Twitch, why can't I
Broadcasting
think of it?
service.
Yeah, you had
It's
with the descriptions on the Twitch channel and all that good stuff. So
yeah.
we had that
Sources,
kind of benefit.
overlays,
There you go.
being able to, you know, figure out what's necessary just for that part, right? So I mean that was helpful. I mean, I could, tell you guys all that stuff. I mean, you know, you have to have the right resolution, on your camera. There's a specific settings, that I could provide, my settings, which is kind of like a global starting point that'll get most people started. But a big thing is just having the computer, right? If you don't have enough processing power to broadcast, if you don't have the right internet connection, that's the first step really, is making sure that you have a system, you have a rig that can support, what you're trying to do here.
Right.
So I'm not
Yeah.
really prepared to give out all of my PC specs or all of my
No.
settings right now, but upon request I could definitely do so, and I could probably create a follow-up video with all of that
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, I had zero equipment. I did not have this microphone. I didn't have this webcam here that's recording this. I did actually have the lights just from a different project that my wife and I were working on, but so I had to go out and purchase these things, which is something that you have to think about. What kind of money are you going to want to invest into the podcast? But you don't have to go this route. Like, you don't have to buy this microphone. This whole microphone setup with the microphone, the arm, all that stuff was only like $50 or less. The webcam
Great
was
deal.
Oh yeah, solid deal. The webcam I think was $70. The one that I got, it's a Logitech something something something. I don't remember. But
I do want to
you
do
have
a quick. It's a Toner Q9 microphone. You can get it on Amazon for $50. We'll put a link in the video description, or on the podcast description. If you guys click that link, it'll take you straight to Amazon. And if you use that link to purchase it, we'll get a little bit of a kickback, which would of course be appreciated. But this is a $50 mic. You can't find a better deal for the quality.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, you got to decide, is it going to be audio only, or is it going to be video involved? And all that kind of plays into later down the line. How do you distribute things, and how do you get the exposure to it? So, yeah, so we'll move on from there. The next step really comes down to recording your first episode. So once you've got your equipment, you've got your partners, you've just picked your format, it comes down to recording your first episode, which is the scariest, most rewarding part of the entire thing.
Like movies have directors, right? And like live events, like hockey games or basketball games, like there's a guy behind that directing all of those switches and all that stuff. So, you never really like value like what they're doing until you actually have to like do it yourself a little bit. And I tell you what, man, it's trying to run something live and just like connecting all the dots and managing it all.
Yep.
It's not a joke. It's
No.
yeah, it's a little stressful.
Again, I'm glad that we had you that had a little bit of experience with all that before we started, because the beard here is the one who runs the live stream and makes sure that our audio is making it to your ears, and that our video is out there. And making, when we switch to transitions, he's got to hit the right buttons and make sure the music's playing and all that stuff. So there's a lot of action happening in the back end to make it work. So yeah, kudos to you, sir. And
Hey,
there's
man.
a lot of research that went in on the front end of it just to figure out what's the appropriate software and stuff to use. Like, for instance, it's not just this microphone piping to my computer. It's this microphone piping to a software called Voicemeeter, and that software is piping to Audacity, which is recording my audio. And then after this is all said and done, we have to match up our audio tracks with the video track, and do all that post production magic.
Yeah, so that takes us into the editing portion of it a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about like the pre-recording, the show notes, but there's a couple bits of software since we went down the editing route. I wanted to say, Audacity. You mentioned that it's a free software.
Yeah.
If you guys
Yep.
are going to start this, with little investment, you can really get this going. $50 mic, and then all of the software you can get for free. Voicemeeter Banana is free. There's a video that we can recommend you go and watch to get it all set up. It's a bit complicated, but we believe in you. You guys should believe in yourselves. You can do it.
Do you want
And
to? Sorry, not to interrupt you, Reese. Do you want to share what that looks like, just so people can kind of see behind the scenes what that looks like?
yeah, I mean, I can share my screen. Let's see. Oh, that's me.
Or I can share mine too. Either way.
So I'm just gonna share this. It doesn't look so pretty right now, but this is Voicemeeter Banana.
Yeah.
So I'm talking. You see my levels go up. He talks, his levels go up. We can play
Yep,
our alerts
yep.
through here. I have Google, my main audio. V-Band gives you a whole nother crazy selection. There's different, noise gates, compressions.
It's a ton of stuff.
You could spend 3 hours explaining this, and it probably wouldn't be enough.
Right, exactly. So for you guys listening on audio only, it's kind of hard to explain this in words just because there's so many different buttons and symbols. But if you imagine like what do they call those things, Reese?
Mixer.
A mixer, or like a sound control board. That's essentially what it looks like. There's different sliders and things that you can adjust for different levels. There's different channels you can select, different hardware inputs and hardware outputs. So it's a pretty complex setup.
It is literally just a virtual mixer.
Yeah.
And you can download all of these different, they just call them cables, right? So just think about like if you had an actual tangible mixer in front of you, all of the different cables running in and out of it. You can download, like virtual cables and tie all of your different audio software programs to a cable, and then it, kind of works like an actual tangible mixer.
Right.
So, that's a little bit advanced, right?
Yeah.
Base level is just having a microphone and pushing it into one system and not really doing anything else except for putting maybe a gate on it. Let me show one more thing, right? Because if you're using Streamlabs or you're using OBS, and I'm showing my screen again. Let me see how I pull it up. You can actually go and put filters on the different sources that you have. And if you guys want, I can take a screenshot of how I set up my microphone and share that with you all.
Yeah.
I have a couple of videos too, but
We need to. This would be a perfect opportunity. I've been thinking about starting a real website for our show. This would be the best. It would be a good opportunity for us to like make a post on how we have everything set up, so people understand how to get started. But I do want to say really quick before we go any further, if you're listening to this and you are thinking about starting a podcast, at this point you're probably a little bit intimidated. You're like, wow, it's a lot of stuff I got to think about. But I will say, don't be intimidated by all this stuff, because if you just wanted to dip your toes in the water, kind of familiarize yourself with how to even just record your first episode. You could literally record a podcast with an iPhone by itself. I mean, you could use the internal
Yep.
microphones on an iPhone to record a podcast episode. There's plenty of free apps out there that let you record your audio. And if you wanted to take a step further, you could upgrade to a microphone that could plug into your iPhone, and you literally you could just hit the ground running like that. You and another person could sit at the same table with a microphone that has a 3-channel, what do they call those, omnidirectional,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, I can't think of the technological terms right now, but a different array of microphones within that one microphone that would pick up both of your audio, and you could just record it onto your iPhone. And then from there, you do your edits in post, and then you could send it out just like we do. But so it doesn't.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we chose to kind of take a complicated route just because, number one, we're in 2 different cities,
Mm-hmm.
and number 2, we wanted to do video and we wanted to do it live, so that added a lot of different complications into the mix.
But you also you don't get some of the benefits. If you just use a phone, you don't have the benefits of like noise compression or a noise gate or the ability to change the different levels. So,
Yeah.
the quality of our sound with these, microphones that are more advanced, is that the noise that's going into your ears right now is a little bit less abrasive, and just the quality should be
Yep.
better.
Yep.
It is better.
And so you should always strive to improve your quality too. That's definitely what Reese and I strive all the time to figure out ways to make the quality better. And that might actually require extra work. So you have to be prepared for that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we didn't even get into the whole preparation behind like creating a brand or a logo.
Yeah.
That's something that we should have talked about a little bit. And luckily, AJ's kind of a whiz here on how to use different programs. I mean, look what he put together. He created this logo basically from scratch, and I just like it. It just looks clean. I like it all.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm
Even the
definitely not a graphic
transitions.
designer by any means, but I know enough to be dangerous in
could fool me.
Photoshop and all that stuff. So, yeah, again, that's something that we could maybe one day, if we start to gain some traction, we maybe could actually hire a designer to refresh our branding and things like that. But you're always looking to improve the quality.
Absolutely.
So, if we're moving on from that, I mean, there was some stuff that we kind of breezed over, but feel free to reach out to if you guys are trying to start a podcast and you need some advice. Hit us up. You can shoot us a DM on Instagram or on Twitter, or leave a comment on YouTube. We'd be happy to kind of give you some tips.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
moving on from the editing portion, so once you've got your first episode recorded, you've used these different programs such as Audacity or Voicemeeter, and you've got your show ready to go. You're happy with it. You're ready to send it out there. The first thing you have to do is figure out a hosting platform. So, I mean, if you wanted to take the simplest route out there, you could probably just put your podcast up on YouTube, on Facebook, or wherever, and call it done. But if you want to actually get the exposure on all of the podcasting platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, Google Casts, I could name 20 different podcast listening platforms. You're going to need a hosting platform that can help you distribute. Unless you're really tech savvy, and I did do some reading on how you can essentially write your own RSS feed, it looks almost like code in a sense. So if you're really tech savvy, you can write your own RSS feed and then submit it to these different these different podcast networks, and they'll pick it up. But I would recommend highly looking at a hosting platform. And just to name a few, there's Libsyn, which is Libsyn, stands for Liberated Syndication. There's Podbean, and there's SoundCloud. SoundCloud's another pretty basic one. It's kind of like uploading music to SoundCloud, then you can distribute from there. But the one we chose to go with was Libsyn. It's been around for a while. I'm not going to go into a ton about the actual company or the software itself, but essentially what it does for us is allows us to upload our audio files to this service, and then once it's uploaded, it essentially creates an RSS feed for you. So you can give it your show artwork, you can give it your logo, you give it the description, the name of the episodes, all that sort of information that goes along with each episode or your show as a whole. And then it spits out a big long RSS feed for you. Actually, it really just gives you a link. Like, you don't even have to see that whole messy RSS feed. And then all you have to do is take that link and send it to all the different podcast platforms for
wow.
them to pick it up. So it does Spotify automatically for you, and I think that's about it. So the responsibility on you is you just essentially copy and paste that link. And what we did for our show was literally just go to each of every podcast app you can think of. So for us, I think we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Castbox, Podbean. I could look at my phone and found out all the rest of them. But all these different podcast players, you just go to their website and look in their footer. Usually they have a link down there that says like for publishers or for podcasters or something like that. Click on that link, and usually there's just a field that says submit your RSS feed. All you do is paste that link in there and hit go or whatever the button says, and within an hour or maybe a day or something like that, they'll have your first episode up on their app.
It was a pretty clean process. I remember,
Yeah.
luckily you were able to figure it all out. I was kind of hands off on that, so thanks for figuring it out. But yeah, I think like the longest wait time was maybe like 1 or 2 days for, I think it was Google
Apple.
or Apple. One of them.
Apple Podcasts is the slowest. I think Apple Podcast is the most important thing for any podcast to have a presence on, because Apple Podcast actually drives the feed of many different apps. So a lot of these apps that we are even in, I didn't have to go to submit a RSS feed to. It just picks it up from Apple Podcasts. And also, if you get reviews and things like that on Apple Podcasts, that weighs very heavily on how you perform search-wise. It does a lot for your viewability and things like that. So that's where you should really push to have reviews. But Apple Podcasts has a longer vetting process. So once you submit to them, and they actually have a little bit stricter guidelines around what you can submit for each episode. So for instance, on YouTube, the episode titles are really lengthy. They have the name of our show in it. They have the date, stuff like that. When you submit an episode to Apple Podcasts, all they want is the name, the main title of the episode. So for this one, it'll be How to Start a Podcast, and that's literally it. If you give them the extra stuff, they may not accept the feed and things like that. But the first time around, it takes maybe up to 2 days to a week, I think is what they estimate. But it happens faster than their estimate. To get your first episode up. But then after your first episode's up and you publish your next episode, that's the beauty of it. You don't have to resubmit your feed to any of these places again. Once you publish to your RSS feed through something like Libsyn, these different players will automatically pull in that RSS feed and get your new episodes. So it just takes it's just a little bit of a waiting period for them to start to show up.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I think that's like very important for people to understand how that works, because that allows you to hit, rather than you having to go to every different distribution channel and upload it yourself, which is time consuming. Yeah. You choose a hosting program and you're able to shout out to the world with, one basic delivery of your data. You're able to hit all of these different platforms. So, I mean, that's, if you really want to get started on the right foot, there you go.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to share my screen really quick, Reese. Turn on screen share, application window.
It's all you now. All right, there it is. We can see it.
So I'm giving you guys a little bit of behind the curtain here. But if we look at, this is our Libsyn backend platform. So you can see all of our previously published episodes. So it really does a good job of managing all this stuff for you. And we pay right now, I think we pay $20 a month. That's all we pay right now. And it gives us, if we look at our storage here, we get about, what's that work out to? A little over 400 megabytes um,
Yeah.
of storage each month. So it never deletes your episodes. It keeps them up there forever, but you can only upload a certain amount of data each month. So if you're doing 4 episodes a month, like Reese and I are doing, you may have to upload to the plan that's got like 400 megabytes, just depending on how long your episodes are. Um,
And I think
but
our episodes are usually an hour and a half.
mhm,
So,
an hour
you
and a
know,
half, and that ends up being somewhere from between like 90 megabytes to like 130 megabytes or something like that. So we had to upgrade to a little bit of a higher plan than the base, but not too
yeah.
much.
Right,
Um,
right.
and then destinations here, you can see that the cool thing about Libsyn is that with I think all of their plans, it gives you a free podcast page, which essentially is a website. So if I click on this, we have our own little website here that hosts all of our episodes as well.
Hold on. Can I
And
change my picture?
yeah, this is
Oh
just a
man.
screenshot of one of our episodes.
Why do I look like I'm I look like that girl that was showing herself on the on the video share. Oh no.
You're pushing real hard.
Oh man.
That was just the first time eating pizza after 3 weeks.
Oh yes, there it is right there. Too much cheese.
Oh man. So
This is clean.
you get very limited customization options with this. I mean, it is a free website after all, but you can change like your color scheme and things like that, but it is bare bones, but it does give you like a little bit of a web presence to put out there. Um, but yeah, you can see on here, these are all the different destinations you can distribute to automatically. So if you want to, you can get your own application. You can get an app made for iPhones or Android, things like that. It's completely free. It's part of your plan. So, and it kind of does the job for you. Like if you want to add a new episode here, you just click here and it kind of walks you through all the process. You upload your file, you can upload your show artwork, so you can change your artwork from episode to episode if you want to. You can schedule your episodes to go out at a certain time. So it's pretty robust, and of course you have like stats and stuff, so you can see how many downloads you've gotten and all that good stuff. But yeah, I would recommend. I mean, for $20 a month, this kind of does the work for you, and it saves you a lot of headache. So, Reese, I'm gonna stop
Yeah.
sharing my screen now.
All right. Yep, we're good again.
So that kind of takes us through. I mean, do you have anything to add there, Reese? Or
No, I mean, I guess the only thing that I would touch on is like the video portion of it and just uploading to Apple or not Apple, uploading to YouTube and showing your distributing it through your different social network channels, which we're gonna kind of touch on a little bit in
Yep.
the next step 8, shout from the rooftops.
Yes.
So this is something that I struggled with, and I'm going to start this one off just by saying that you shouldn't be afraid to tell people. The best way that you're going to grow your podcast and get some, I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Get some traction.
Just some traction, yeah.
Yeah, is tell your friends, right? Tell your family first off. Tell your relatives that this is what's going on, and ask them for their support, or maybe not. Don't ask them. Just let them know that it's going on, and tell your friends and family. Reach out on Facebook. Reach out on your different social media platforms. This is something that I struggled with, which is just like a fear of rejection kind of thing. But
Right.
who cares, right? You only live once. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah,
So,
I had a hard time with it too. Like the first time you hear your voice on a recording, it's an odd thing. So I mean, I have a marketing background, so I've had to do different voiceovers for things in the past before, and it's always a weird feeling hearing yourself talk. But you actually do kind of get used to it. And yeah, like to what Reese said, like just don't be afraid to tell people, even after your first episode. Your first episode is not going to be great. That's just the bottom line. But you just gotta roll with it. I mean, I took a leap of faith when I think we maybe were on like episode 2, and I shared it on my LinkedIn page, and I have a pretty good LinkedIn like network, and our first episode got a ton of traction, or maybe it was our second episode, I can't remember. And I had people around my office at work saying like, "Hey, what's this podcast thing I'm hearing about?" And they were like actually bringing it up on their computers at the office and talking about it. And I was like, "All right, shut that off, shut that off. Like, we don't need everybody hearing this right now."
Oh
Um,
no.
so it is kind of hard to like overcome that barrier and just be willing to put yourself out there. But if you do put yourself out there and you're genuine and you're not spammy and trying to like share every 15 minutes on your social feeds, people will support you. So just
Yeah.
use your network.
You know what? And if they don't support you and accept you for who you are and what you're interested in and what you want to do,
Yeah.
then
Screw
who
them.
cares? Screw them. Exactly. Screw them. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And actually, I do want to say I've talked about this guy before on the podcast. He was the one who said, "What happens when the beard shaves his beard?" His name's Zach Miller, and he's a guy I follow on LinkedIn. And I actually got into a little bit of a conversation with him on LinkedIn one day, and he was talking about how you should not just share something one time. You should increase your frequency with how much you share something that you're proud of or whatever. And I responded back to him. I was like, well, how do you know if you're like too spammy, right? Like you don't want to be too spammy and overshare. And he was like, he basically said like you can't overshare. He was like, you got to think about the amount of media, the amount of information people are consuming every single day. It's hard. It's almost hard to oversaturate a single person, right? So don't be afraid to share and reshare and ask other people to share, because it's not gonna annoy it. Most chances it's not gonna annoy people to the point where they unfollow you, or block you on Facebook or things like that. So just put it out there.
Dude, I'm right there with you. And you know what? I need to do that more. I should be sharing more. Honestly, my personal stream, my personal my gaming stream, right? I haven't even shared it on my Facebook yet.
Yeah.
Can you
And you've
believe
been doing
that? I've
for
been
a while.
4 months, 4.5 months.
I mean, do you want to share why that is? Is there a reason that you do that?
Yeah, straight up. Honestly, it's fear of rejection. It's quite
Yeah.
literally fear of rejection. Having that. There's one thing that kind of goes around. It's like that imposter kind of syndrome, right? Where you kind of feel like an imposter with your own people that like people on my Facebook know me a certain way, right? People
Right.
in my real life know me a certain way, and they might not know that like I play video games, or like to the level extent that I play video games, like how involved it is for me. So it's like that fear of like rejection, where if I post that, people are gonna comment on it and be like, "Oh, what a nerd," or
Yeah.
like, what really?" And I don't really want to get too far into that, but that's kind of what it is. But I have to be ready, and I've been more stalwart. I'm gonna use that word
Oh,
in
what is that? I've never even heard of this word.
protecting myself, basically. In defending myself on what I value and what my I don't know, not priorities, but like what my passion is, right? So if somebody doesn't like my passion, screw them, straight up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really bother me as much as it used to. So, I'll
Right.
get there. I'll
Well,
get there
I think
for sure.
I think what you find is that if you start sharing openly about what you actually are interested in, so video games or technology and things like that, that's the community you start to build, right? So then you find like-minded individuals. And that's the great thing about Twitter and Instagram. I can tell you, since I started the Instagram page for the Ginger and the Beard podcast, the majority of the followers we've received so far are other podcasters. And,
Yep.
there's a lot of other beer podcasts out there, or even people that just post a lot about craft beers. And like you start to see their posts more frequently. You start to see them commenting on your posts. And you start to build these sort of like relationships with these different individuals who you can leverage as part of your network later down the road. So it really comes down to, I think the final point to kind of close out this section is really just be proud of what you've created, especially at this point in the process. Like you've gone through all the work to set this up. You've planned this thing. You've made your brand. You've probably written show notes. You've paid money for a hosting platform. And now that it's out there, the last step is be proud of what you just did. Like you just created a piece of content. And you have to be your number one advocate because no one's going to do it for you, right? So you have
Right.
to be your biggest advocate, your biggest fan, and you have to leverage your network to grow, which kind of tailors into our last step, which is network to grow.
Right. Yeah, I agree with what you just said right there, and it's important to attract like-minded people, and I've kind of done it with my stream. Is people that come into my stream and stick around, well, they like what we're doing, and people that are going to come into this podcast and listen to it, they're like-minded people, just like you said, the other
Yep.
podcast folks. So, joining groups on social media, that's important. I think networking to grow, right? Like I have this idea of um, like macro level and micro level content. Macro
Mm.
being like what we're doing right now, which is the full hour plus long content, right? That's our
Yep.
macro,
Yep.
and we distribute that on our social media platforms, being YouTube and Twitter and Instagram. Twitter and Instagram being our primaries, um, you know, and you're the one that really you take the macro content that we're creating and you break it down almost daily into
Yeah.
minutes of content that you share out.
Yep.
And you've been really great on the whole advertising front as far as like showing the different beers and talking about the UFC on our Instagram. Highly recommend you guys come and follow us on Instagram. That's where a lot of our fun and interesting stuff is being shared, and a lot of that also gets shared onto Twitter. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So just some tips on that, just to kind of elaborate on what he's saying. We record this long podcast, and we know that not everybody likes super long podcasts. They've gotten the feedback from multiple people, like in my personal like circle or whatever, like, "Oh, that podcast is long, dude." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I like long podcasts. Like, I listen to what you said, Reese. I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, and sometimes his podcasts are like 3 hours long.
yeah,
It might take me a few days to get through it, but I enjoy listening to long form podcasts just because personally I don't like jumping from 30-minute podcast to another 30-minute podcast. I just like investing my time in something that's long, and you can really, the longer the podcast is, the deeper you can get in the conversation. And you're
yep,
not worried, especially when you're producing a long form podcast, you're not worried about the time really. You're not worried about like, okay, we're going on too much of a tangent. We need to cut this here and move on to the next segment, because I've listened to podcasts like that. And actually the website that I used to help write for, androidauthority.com, they had a podcast which used to be long form. They have all this in-depth conversation, a lot of opinions, and then they switched formats and they went for a shorter, more structured podcast where they basically went news article to news article to news article. And the host of the show, he was like the main guy or whatever, had to like cut people off, make them move on to the next topic. And it just felt like really
yeah,
rushed and really like it just didn't feel like warm and fuzzy to me. So, um,
yeah. I mean, I can see the point of view if people don't have a whole lot of time to invest.
right.
I get that, but the quality really is the important part. So, we're gonna stick to our guns and keep this long format. I don't ever envision us creating a short, choppy kind of deal.
Yeah.
I like this format a lot better. I think that it's gonna be more valuable. Honestly, it's gonna be more
Right.
valuable to the listener this way. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, so what do I do is technically, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. What I do after we record is Reese actually handles the post production. He puts together our audio tracks, our video tracks. He uploads to YouTube, and then I download that video and splice it up into smaller clips. So at first, I was starting to do 1 minute clips because that's the maximum amount of time you can share on Instagram if you want it to appear as a regular video in your feed. However, after our last episode, I dabbled a little bit in uploading IGTV videos, so Instagram TV videos, which allow you to do up to 10 minutes unless
oh
you're
wow,
I think a verified, if you're a verified Instagram user, which maybe one day we will be, you can do up to an hour per clip.
oh wow,
So yeah, so what I started doing was I think I cut a couple of like 6 minute clips of like specific topics that we talked about last week and uploaded those to Instagram TV. And so that way people can, if they need some bite-sized content, they don't have the time to invest in an hour and a half long podcast. They can find that there on Instagram, and those same clips were also uploaded to YouTube into a clips only folder. So if they just want to see some short content, then they can find that there.
Oh, nice. I think that's perfect, right? So those folks that are, not so happy about the long form that we produce in our macro content, well, they always have the option to just catch the highlights. Really, is what
Right.
we're doing is pushing out highlights, the most important type of information, which I think is it's good to have all of those different forms, right? You just diversify your portfolio, more or less.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of
Well,
rounds it out. I mean, I think we that's 9 steps. If we just go back through those really quick, it's just step 1, decide on a genre and a topic. Step 2, you got to figure out, are you going to do this alone, or are you going to buddy up with somebody, or are you going to find a group of people that you can speak with each week? Maybe you're going to bring in special guests. What's it going to be? Step 3, you got to pick your format. Is it going to be audio only? Is it going to be audio plus video? You can figure out what kind of gear you're going to need depending on which format you pick. Are you going to live stream it like we're doing right now, or are you just going to record it and put it out there? Step 4, you got to take that leap of faith and just record your first episode. It's not going to be the best episode ever. You just got to do it. You got to go for it. Step number 5 is editing. Obviously, you got to make sure, some people don't edit, but you got to edit and cut out any curse words or anything you don't actually want to put out there. You got to edit. Step number 6, you got to figure out, once you've got your episode, where are you going to host this thing? Are you going to use a hosting platform such as Libsyn like we do? Or are you going to just do it yourself and write your own RSS feed? Or are you just going to upload it straight to YouTube? What's your plan? Step number 7, you distribute it, whether it's you just upload it to YouTube or you upload it to Facebook or wherever. You got to figure out, how are you going to distribute it to all the different podcast players to get your greatest chance of being noticed. Step number 8, you got to shout it from the rooftops. I started a podcast. Check it out. Quite literally, just tell everyone that you started a podcast and go check you out. And then last but not least, you got to network. You got to put yourself out there, be proud of what you created, and leverage the networks you have, build new networks, build new connections, and just support other creators, and hopefully those creators will support you. And there you go. You've created your very own podcast.
You're ready to go. Take it there and share it with
That's
us
right.
when you do. We want to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the one thing that since I've actually, I've been networking, you've been networking, just some back end behind the curtain stuff. Reese handles our Twitter account. I handle our Instagram account. And there's so many podcasts out there. Like, if I wanted to spend my day listening to beer podcasts, I could literally spend every minute of the day listening to beer podcasts.
Yeah.
And I wish I had more time to support other podcasters because, it's not enough really just to follow these people on Instagram. I mean, sure, that's awesome, but I would love to actually listen to their podcast, share it, and really engage with them. But it's hard to find enough time in the day. But I'm gonna make an effort.
Forming, so when we talk about the social media, it's about forming relationships, like little micro relationships with people, getting to know them a little bit, understanding their points of views, sharing valuable information with each other. And building on these relationships to help each other grow, and also with your viewers and listeners,
Right.
Sharing valuable content that, that they want to come back for. So, that's what we're trying to do here.
Yes, sir.
So that's it, man. They're ready. Are we ready to transition?
I think we should. We got some tech news to talk about. We got some UFC shenanigans to talk about. Got some video games to talk about. We're already an hour and 17 minutes into this bad boy. We got a lot of stuff to keep covering.
Yeah, we do. So we're talking about UFC next, right? Or is it tech? Hold on.
Let's
Is
get
it
into
UFC?
UFC. Let's get into
Oh,
UFC.
no, it's... Are you sure? We could... Okay.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to transition right now.
All right.
Oh, there he is. Look at him. He's just jamming away. Oh, hey. Oh my God, a wild ginger has appeared.
Oh man, getting wild.
Yeah, it is. It is. So dude,
UFC shenanigans.
Oh man, I cried a little bit the other day. I gotta
I
say,
know. I
I
know.
was I was excited for it. I was
Let's
on the
pour
fence, honestly.
let's
Yeah,
pour one
poor.
out for UFC 249.
Yeah,
Pour one out for the
pour
homies.
one for our 249 homies. Um, I just want to say that I was a little bit on the fence, right? Like I love UFC. I love watching it and I love having the opportunity to watch it. But at the same time, we're in a pandemic right now, and these guys were gonna go and get into a large gathering. Um, I'm not. I haven't confirmed. Maybe you know. Was it going to have an audience, or was it just going to be the fighters and refs and all that stuff? But regardless, people are interacting, fighting with each other, damaging themselves. You know, it just increases the chance. Now, let's just say one of those fighters had it and spread it to everybody else. The risk there. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, and people are dying from this thing, man. It's no joke. It's no joke at all. So, do you
Right.
want to see some of your favorite fighters dying from coronavirus? No, I don't think you do. So, but I agree with you. I mean, like, part of me, on this shoulder, I'm like, I want to see this fight no matter what it takes. And this shoulder, I'm like, is this really the best decision? Is it the best decision? So, yeah, I totally am. I'm with you, man. It's just such a roller coaster of emotions this last week has been when it comes to UFC 249. I mean, it literally changed by the day. Everything changed by the day. Um,
Yep.
so obviously it was originally supposed to be Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov, um, for the belt, for the it's lightweight, right? Lightweight belt.
Yeah, it's lightweight. Yep.
Um, so and then we're talking about old news at this point, but Khabib got stuck in Russia. He couldn't leave because of the travel bans. So there was questions: is he going to make the fight? How are they going to make this happen? No venue in the United States wants to host the fight because everything's locked down. So then this crazy news came out like 3 days ago that because they couldn't secure a location, Dana White bought a mother-loving island.
Jesus.
He pulled his baller card out and said, "You know what? If I can't have this in the United States, or I can't find a place internationally, I'm gonna buy myself an island, and
How
we're gonna have
crazy.
these fights."
How crazy.
So this sounded like fake news at first, but it's real. He put out a statement, a video of himself on Instagram, UFC's Instagram yesterday, and said, "No, Fight Island is what they're calling it. Is real. This is a real thing. This is where we're gonna host fights week after week once this Corona stuff has ironed itself out. Um, Fight
This
Island
is
is a real thing."
Are they saying that that's like the new venue for every fight ever? What?
It said it's specifically international fights. So I don't know if that means like if we have fighters, from Dagestan or maybe Brazil or people that can't travel internationally, they're gonna send them to this island to fight. I don't know if that means if you have a card that's
Dude, is
nothing
this
but
a movie?
I don't. It's crazy, dude. I'm like,
What?
are they gonna build a? Are they building a venue, or is it just gonna be like outside? There's like a ring outside. There's like stadium seating. I don't know how this is gonna
They're
work.
just gonna be on the beach.
Yeah, it's just a spray painted circle and like, I don't know. It's wild to think about.
It's like tribal warfare or some stuff. Like that's that literally sounds like
It's
you
like
know
Gladiator.
blood sport. Do you remember that movie with John
Yeah.
Claude Van Damme? It's like it's blood sport.
Oh my gosh, dude, it's the craziest thing. But like, what happens if it's an all American card, which rarely happens anymore? But does that mean they'll still find a venue in the United States? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that news came out, and I'm like, all right, so this is going to happen, right? So I can't remember if this was before. This was actually after Khabib officially dropped out, and they very quickly replaced him with Justin Gaethje. So I was pretty excited about that. I was bummed that it wasn't going to be, the fight was no longer going to be for the actual belt, but they announced that the fight between Justin Gaethje and Tony Ferguson was going to be for the interim light heavyweight, or not light heavyweight, lightweight belt,
Oh my god.
since Khabib couldn't actually defend his title. I don't know if I like that decision, but whatever.
I don't. They should.
It's not
No.
really.
It's got to be Tony versus Khabib.
Yeah.
It has to
So
be.
I was kind of bummed about that, but I also like watching Justin Gaethje fight.
Yeah.
So Justin Gaethje was locked in. It was official on Instagram, on the news, all that good stuff. Fight Island was purchased and secured. I'm like, this fight's gonna happen. This fight is gonna happen. Um, so maybe a day later, maybe a half a day later, we find out that the co-main event, which was supposed to be Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade, the rematch, fell apart because Rose Namajunas had to pull out. So
For undisclosed reasons.
For undisclosed reasons. So the first report was she pulled out for undisclosed reasons. Then a lot of these MMA, UFC coverage websites reported that she was forced out. She was forced out of UFC 249. So that left us questioning,
How?
like, who do you listen to? I don't. Yeah.
How? Like, okay, so why would she have been forced out? What could possibly have forced her out? Right.
Right. So that's what I was thinking too. And then earlier today, I think early this morning, or maybe it was yesterday evening, I found out that, or I read that the reason she pulled out is actually because two family members, which is terribly sad, passed away with complications due to coronavirus.
Okay.
So how awful is that news?
Yeah,
So
that is.
Feel terrible for her.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing else you can really say. It's just it's just terrible. So
It's a terrible time, and I was really upset to hear that she wasn't going to get her rematch. And like, if you followed her since her last bout with Jessica Andrade, which was her last fight, she went through a period of deciding whether or not she's going to fight ever again. She basically was like, she got slammed on her head, man. She could have broken her neck. She could have had like severe brain damage.
yeah.
It could have been bad. So she had this like face this reality of like, do I fight again? Do I not? And she made the decision to come back and fight again. It was going to be a rematch. Wasn't going to be for the belt anymore, but she was going to kind of, see what she could make of that fight. So I was
She's
bummed
so
about
good.
that.
She's so good, man. I'm bummed, and I feel terrible, right? But I do see a bright future for her when she comes back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. So, but then things changed.
Oh my gosh.
So they were going to replace Rose, which fine, whatever. The card itself was still going to be amazing, right?
But then, I mean, the higher powers came in, right? The higher powers there being Disney, right? Disney is the entertainment company that owns, and I think this is the right breakdown. They own ESPN.
Yep.
ESPN owns the UFC. Disney put the hammer down and said, "No, we're not doing this."
Yeah, I don't think ESPN actually owns UFC, but that's where obviously they stream their fights. That's their giant sponsor partner right now. So Dana White actually put out a video on Instagram, like a live video. And he essentially, I think what happened was the higher powers, like you said, at Disney basically said, for the safety and well-being of everyone involved, this event should not happen, period, no matter where it actually takes place. And so obviously ESPN isn't going to stream this event anymore. So what choice does Dana have, really? And in his video, Dana's like, ESPN has been an awesome partner for us recently. He was like, there's no way I would ever go against when they tell me. They basically told him, stand down was the quote. They told him to stand down and to postpone this event. And in his video, he basically was like, how could I tell them? How could I tell them no? How could I go against them when they've been such an amazing partner for the UFC?
Absolutely.
He was like, this event is not canceled, despite what people are reporting. It's not canceled. It's being postponed. But he hasn't given a date yet. So technically, it's kind of canceled.
Yeah, it's canceled. in the fact that it's not happening on the 18th. I mean, that specific event, right? It'll happen. Of course, UFC 249 is going to happen someday, but it might not look the same. It might not feel the same. It might not be located in a place that we're aware of or a time that we're aware of. So it's, it's a bummer, but it's for the best.
Yep. So the moral of the story here is that it's not happening on April 18th. We're not going to get to see Tony v. Khabib. We're not going to get to see Rose v. Andrade. We're not going to get to see Francis Ngannou versus I can't ever remember this guy's name.
Rosenstruck.
Rosenstruck. I can't ever
Every
remember.
time I have to say it.
I know. I always want to say Overeem for some reason. They fought before, but that's not this fight. We're not going to get to see Uriah Hall fight. I was so excited to see Uriah Hall fight because I've been following him since The Ultimate Fighter 17, when he just blew through everyone on that show in a horrifying fashion, like knocking people out to the point where I'm like not sure if that guy's ever going to stand up again. And he's just this monster to be reckoned with. He hasn't made his way up the ranks yet so far at the UFC, but he's still got some fight left in him for sure. So it's kind of a bummer. But back to the Fight Island thing. So, again, it is a real thing, but it did come to light in Dana's video that he put out that 249 was actually going to take place in the United States if it were to have happened. It was not going to be on Fight Island just because I don't think they could have gotten the venue together fast enough. But where it was going to take place was, I don't know how you say this properly, but Tachi Palace Resort Casino, which is 40 miles south of Fresno, California. And it's on a reservation belonging to the Santa Rosa Indian community. So it was going to happen essentially on a Native American reservation, and that's how they're going to kind of skirt by the regulations. So he basically, that venue had committed that it was going to happen. And so he said in his video that the next fight that does happen after all this stuff is kind of blown over is going to happen at Tachi Palace because they have been such an amazing, venue. They were totally bought in. So he's going to make sure that the next fight happens at that casino.
Good for them. I think that's a good idea, and they deserve it. So good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, as sad as it is, that is the UFC shenanigans. Hopefully we have some more information next week, but it's looking bleak. We'll keep our eyes open, and maybe we'll have some news. I mean, just how crazy everything's been changing. Maybe things will change for the better. We'll see. Do you want to jump into this tech news? I know you had a couple that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we can blow through this really quick. Just spend a few minutes. I don't want to spend too much time on it because we got some cool stuff to talk about when you get to video games. So let's do a transition real quick, and we'll just blow through tech news.
Sounds good. Here we go. And we're back. All right, so let's talk about it. You said Google Stadia, right?
Yeah,
Am I saying
Stadia.
that right?
So Google Stadia, yep. So if you guys don't know, Google Stadia is essentially a cloud-based video game service. So as long as you have a compatible controller and a connected in some way screen, like a smart TV, or maybe you've got a Chromecast Ultra connected to a TV, you can play video games through Google's, and you're basically playing on a computer somewhere in the cloud, essentially. This is the long story short of it. But this I'm not going to call it a benefit of the coronavirus, but a lot of companies are looking for ways to help provide some relief to people who are stuck at home and completely stir crazy. And one of the ways they're doing that, Google is providing the Stadia Pro service for 2 months for free. So that sounds great, but that does not mean you get to play all the video games in the world for free for 2 months. It really only saves you about $20 it's like $10 a month service. So you save about $20, and you do still have to pay for the video games that you want to play. But you get that pro service for free for a couple of months. So some of the compatible controllers, you don't have to buy the Stadia specific controller if you don't want to. You can use like Xbox One controllers. You can use, I think, PlayStation controllers. But that's just something cool I just thought it was cool that Google's doing that for people. I think they could do a little bit more, maybe. Like maybe throw out some free games, that people can play for a couple months, something like that. And then the only other story I had in the tech news section was that the next iteration of iOS, which would be iOS 14, will allow users to try apps before they actually download them. So I thought that was kind of cool because I don't know about you, Reese. I download a lot of apps and quickly delete them after I realize, wow, they're full of ads, or
Yeah.
the app doesn't do what it promised. Things like
Yep.
that.
And you can't trust the reviews because they have like review bots on a lot of these things now that'll just like boost it up to like a 4.0 plus,
Hmm.
and then you get in there and it's like, oh, well, this is just a money grab.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. So you shortly after delete the app, but yeah, apparently
Yep.
iOS 14 is using some sort of new API to allow users to try out apps before they fully download them. But as I was reading this report from The Verge, I found out that it requires the user to scan a QR code to preview the app. So I'm thinking that maybe the use case here is maybe you're at an event, you're walking around, you see some app company there that's like promoting their cool camera or whatever it is, and you can scan a QR code of something to preview the app. You can do some minor things within it, and then from there you can decide, do I want to download the full version or not. So my question was, who uses QR codes anymore?
I know. You know what I do use QR codes for? Message on the web. Do you ever use messages on the web?
Well, I have an iPhone now, but yes, before I switched over to iPhone, I did use Android messages on the web, and it does require you to use a QR code to get logged in.
That's like the only thing I can think of.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say I randomly stumble across a QR code like on the box of some product, or like sometimes like if you download or if you buy like a smart bulb or something for your house, it's like, hey, to set this up, scan this QR code, you know. And I think most Android phones and also the iPhone, it's just built into your camera app now. You don't have to download a QR scanner. You just hold your camera up over that QR thing, and it's just like boop, just does its thing and hooks you up.
Yeah. It's just something that never really, I don't know, it didn't really take off. You know what? And I just want to make one point is like the number of like apps that are on like the Google Play Store and, Apple, like there's just so many different video games on there, and it's just like, it's the same thing over and over and over again, it seems
Yeah.
like. And, like there's just not a whole lot of quality there.
Yeah, that would
Um,
definitely be the place to do the preview thing. Like, just let me play one level of this game to figure out, is this something that I actually want to use my space for before I download it.
Oh yeah, because the clickbait is heavy. There's so much clickbait and the false advertising of what the game is. You know, I don't even download them anymore because I've like rarely, unless it's like a $10 game, then
Yeah,
it'll be okay. But yeah, besides that, that's it for tech news.
that's it.
Transition.
Transition.
Here we go.
I need to put these
Yeah.
drumsticks away. I'm like envisioning myself in front of a 15-piece drum set, and I'm just like, I'm in the front row of
Ah.
a Van Halen concert. I don't know what that quote is from.
I don't.
The quote is from the Ricky Bobby movie.
Is it? Ah, dude, I never saw it.
Oh man.
Oh, I know. I need to. Everybody tells me. So I could be a metal singer. I could do it. Right?
All right, we're gonna start the Ginger and the Beer Band.
Ginger and the Beard Band. Just drums and screaming.
Yes. No actual words, just straight up growling.
Just growling the whole time. Anyway, all right. So I'm just gonna jump right into this. First off, I'm gonna talk about Last Oasis, guys. This game's brand new. It's a survival MMO. It breaks the mold for survival MMOs. I got to tell you, if you guys ever played survival MMOs or have been interested in trying it out, this is the one to play. It is the best one. I don't know if I've seen an early access release go so smoothly from a small developer before. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Not that it went smoothly because their servers were so jacked up that they had to shut it down for a week, but the fact that the game is like so well polished and fun, I can't believe it. But yeah, they just did a new update where hard maps are now available, and they're going to be doing another new update. I got to tell you, I'm putting a lot of trust in this developer right now. and
Who
I highly recommend it.
who is the developer on this?
Oh gosh, you're gonna put me on the spot. One second.
Oh, sorry.
One second.
I mean, this game
I
looks awesome. I mean, I've watched Reese stream. He's been streaming this game a lot the last week, since the servers came back up, and it is very. I mean, the map is just super expansive. You have
Yep.
these gnarly ships that, if I could just paint a word picture for you, it's essentially like a boat on stilts, and like it's like this giant walking thing that walks around with these huge wings that flap around to kind of help propel it. And it's just a beautiful game. Like, the landscape it's very desolate, but also, um, beautiful in its own right. And just the, you know, interacting with other clans and other players, and like deciding whether or not you want to join up with them, and kind of help them achieve their objectives, and things like that. It seems like a pretty cool game if you've got the time to invest in it.
Oh, definitely, dude. It's really cool. And it's Donkey Crew is the team.
Donkey Crew, what's up?
Yeah. So, shout out to Donkey Crew for getting it done. I mean, I've never heard of them before. I don't know really what they specialize in. But the ships, they're inspired by a guy named Theo Jansen, his amazing strand beasts. So check
Oh.
out Theo Jansen,
Is
amazing
this the
strand
thing?
beasts.
It's like these giant spiders that go on the beach and walk around. Is
Yeah, I think so.
Because I remember hearing about these things like a few years ago with like Adam Savage on, like the Mythbusters guy.
Right.
So if this
I'm
is
gonna
the same
show
thing,
it.
because when I watched you stream this for the first time, it reminded me of like those giant walking spider things. Um,
This is it right here, and you're exactly right. That's what they are.
yeah. Oh my gosh, that thing is insane.
So you're riding around on things that look just like this, kind of.
Right.
And it's like what a creative. I just I don't know. I can't
you
talk
should
about it enough.
You should show some pictures of the game while you're talking about it.
All right, yeah, I'll throw some up there. Let's I actually, if you guys go to my YouTube channel, I created a video last night. So here's just a couple glimpses of like the different ships and whatnot. It doesn't really give you a whole lot just looking at it from this perspective, but go check out my video. You can find me on YouTube, Fixit, PHXXIT, and check out my latest video.
We'll drop a link in the show notes too.
Yeah, sounds good. AJ, you should check it out, man. Check out my editing skills. I'm actually I'm a little proud of myself. Pat myself on the back.
I will do that.
But anyway, yeah. So Last Oasis, check it out. Let me keep going though. Let me get through this stuff. So No Man's Sky released a mech update, right? No Man's Sky.
So awesome.
I've talked so much about No Man's Sky in the past. I love the game. It's a game that had a terrible launch, but they've made it up for it, multiple times now with all of the free updates. Now you can build a mech that you can walk around on, has lasers attached to it, flies. It's basically like an Iron Man suit that you can fly around on, and they just blow me away every time, dude. Those guys, Hello Games and Sean Murray are just doing it right. So
Yeah.
check that out for sure if you haven't done it already. And I'm pretty sure it works with VR, so you could actually be in a VR headset inside of a mech. What other game out there allows you to control a mech in VR? I don't know.
I don't think the only other popular mech game that I know about is Titanfall. Did you ever play Titanfall?
No, I haven't played Titanfall.
Oh,
I have played
man.
Apex Legends, which is like similar. It's like the same
Respawn.
world as Titanfall. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Titanfall is so much fun. I can't imagine that game in VR. It'd be so intense. But the mechs are amazing in that game. But yeah, when I saw the clip of the mechs for No Man's Sky, it looked a lot of fun. It looked like a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And just the art styling of that game is what keeps people interested. I feel like every world you land on, every planet you land on is something different. So super dope.
Yep. Epic Games Store. I do a shout out for them every week. Go check out Epic Games Store. $60 worth of free games this week. We got Close to the Sun. Here's a short description. It's 1897, deep in the international waters. The Helios stands still. Dark clouds loom overhead as unforgiving waves crash against the hull. Colossus effigies of gold decorated with magnificent finery stretch as far as the eye can see. So it looks like a bit of a mystery game set in like an older style setting. Kind of like an adventure mystery type of game.
Interesting.
The graphics are nice, looks smooth. For $30, it looks like it's a short kind of playthrough. So it's more focused on like the storyline. So you'll probably get like a 10-hour playthrough with a lot of story. Looks pretty good. I got it now. I'm not sure when I'm going to have time to check it out, but I'll make some time eventually. And then beyond that is Crimes and Punishment. Sherlock Holmes become the most celebrated detective of all time. Sherlock Holmes. Use your impressive talents as a detective to solve 6 thrilling and varied cases. So again, another short game. $30 value for free. Both of these games are heavily focused on the story aspect of it. A little bit of mystery, a little bit of crime solving. $60 value for free. Go check them out. And then last thing is free for free 55 with a free 55 discount. That's my favorite. So final thing is World War Z after the podcast. Go check out Wolfro, WOLFRHO, Wolfro on Twitch. We're going to go join up with those guys, and we're going to go kill some zombies. You ready for it?
Yes, can't wait.
I can't wait either.
One more use out of this drumstick.
Yes. I love it.
So much
Love
zombie slaying.
Oh, dude.
Doesn't
so
get more
great.
relaxing, really, when you just need something mindless where you're just slaying hordes of zombies. You're just on a machine turret and you're just putting down like hundreds and hundreds of zombies.
Yeah.
It's just something very satisfying about that.
I think it's how I like to spend my Fridays after a long week of work, just mowing down some zombies.
That's how the Red's rage lets out his rage.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I wish I had something to go with that, but I don't. I just like killing zombies. All right.
Yes,
so that's the end of it.
Us out on that.
Yes, guys.
I've been thinking about streaming here on this channel. Just like I don't have a video game stream. You do your stream. I love watching it. But just like on Saturdays or something, we do our podcast on Friday, but then on Saturday nights, I play video games every Saturday night anyways. Why not stream it, on the channel?
On this channel?
Yeah, on this channel, just to help.
We could do it together. We could have both of our faces on the overlay and just be streaming us playing video games while we talk about stuff.
I'm so down with that.
We have a couple different ideas because we could do like the UFC side by side. We could do like a beer tasting thing when we get together. And I love the idea of doing a podcast where we play video games together. We could definitely get that done.
Yeah, let's do that. How about this? You guys out there listening to this episode, let us know in the comments or send us a message on Instagram or Twitter and let us know, what would you be interested in us streaming live together? Is it zombie slaying? Is it a fight companion with UFC? Is it beer tastings like Reese mentioned? What would you like to see us do more of live? What would you be interested in?
Yeah, I want to know, because I want to make it entertaining for you guys.
Entertainment for the masses.
Yes, let's take it there. All right, buddy.
Well,
done?
Sir,
we wrapping
I think
up?
we've reached the end of our show notes here. You guys listening out there for how to make a podcast, we use show notes. You have to use show notes to keep yourself on track, and we've reached the end of these notes, which means we've reached the end of our show. So just to kind of close this out here, guys, we've mentioned it a couple times on the stream here, but look right above myself and right above the beard here. Let's just give some finger points. Follow us on all these places. Oh wait, maybe I should do this hand now that I'm seeing myself on the stream. Follow us on all the places. Show us some love, give us some comments, share with your networks. We'd love to expand the show and reach some more audiences, but at the end of the day, we're just having fun with this. So let us know what you're drinking. Let us know what you're playing. Let us know what kind of technology you're into. All those good things. And then we'll see you next week.
See you guys. It was a pleasure.
All right. Bye now.
Bye bye.